60% will always have a special place in my heart. There's just something about the form factor that jives with my desire to live like a minimalist, so out of all the boards I own, roughly half of them are 60s. But there are some times when arrow keys mapped to layer 1 just won't cut it, and that's where the 65% comes in. Offering roughly 5% more functionality than the standard 60% at the cost of a slightly larger footprint on your desk, 65% are probably one of the most common layouts on desks across the world. But what if you didn't have to sacrifice the smaller footprint? What if you could do more with less? This is the AM Compact Touch from AngryMiao keyboards, and it's the embodiment of the philosophy that less is more. If you haven't heard of AngryMiao, they're a Chinese design studio that's produced the behemoth known as the cyberboard, the AFA and the Hatsu. Most of their designs push the boundaries of what's conventional in the hobby, and the Compact Touch is definitely more in line with my preferred aesthetic. So first let's talk specs. It's a 60% board in the HHKB form factor, but with a standard backspace. Each board is machined out of a single solid block of aluminum, and it only comes offered with a 1.2mm hot swap PCB and several flex cuts for a bouncier typing experience. It has a 20.4mm front height, which is in line with several other meta boards, and a rear height of just under 40mm, which makes room for the mounting system, the battery, and the Bluetooth module. It'll come in 7 different colors, and today we're looking at the Noctua, the 8-bit colorway. Take a listen to the board with the included icy silver switches, which are produced by TTC for AngryMiao out of what they call high polymer, and are slightly heavier than their speed silver switches. Keycaps are JTK Classic FC, which match really well with the color scheme of this board. Here we go. So I was really surprised at how good this board feels and sounds right out of the box. The type feel is pretty soft, but it's not insanely bouncy like I'd expect it to be with the thinner PCB and the flex cuts. But that might be because of how the mounting system is set up. But let's go under the hood to see what we're working with. The first thing to note is the mounting system, which is a 2-stage adjustable leaf spring that was first seen in the Hatsu. Unlike a lot of other keyboards that claim to be using leaf spring suspension, the Compact Touch uses a true leaf spring design, which shows it is possible to be more than just a marketing buzzword. You have the option of swapping between copper and stainless steel leaf springs that are included in the box, as well as moving these landing pads to adjust the level of bounce for your preferred type feel. The second standout feature on the board, of course, is the touch panel on the front, which is probably the most polarizing part of this keyboard design. After all, the whole point of a mechanical keyboard is for a better analog experience, and to some, adding in a touch panel just didn't seem like a great idea. After all, more tech means more possibility for failure. But for me, I thought the touch panel design was very well thought out, and AngryMiao went through a lot of different design iterations to find one that wouldn't affect aftermarket keycap compatibility. One obvious negative to the touch panel means you can't use an aftermarket wrist rest, because that would defeat the purpose of the touch panel itself. But in actual use, I found their solution to be really intuitive and a real time saver. It'll be interesting to see what new designs come from something like this. As for the sound, the board does come chock full of foam, which explains the pretty ubiquitous marbly typing sound. I wanted to see what the board sounded like with some different switches, so let's take a listen to the board with the gopolar Azure Dragon V2s installed. Here we go. After tuning the stabs and putting in some clackier switches, I'm really satisfied with this board's sound. So now let's talk value. The board will be launching on Indiegogo on February 2nd and comes in a few different options. The standard edition base kit, which will start at just under $400 without switches or keycaps, and the bundle, which comes with matching keycaps and the icy silver switches for an extra $100. There's also a special Mech Love edition, which lets you customize LED panels on the top blockers for $515, as well as the laser edition because Cybertruck. Personally, I'd skip the bundle because while the switches are decent, they're 3-pin and this board sounds really good with more clacky switches. So the question is, should you buy this board? Well, I'm a sucker for innovation, even if I don't necessarily appreciate the end product. After all, anybody can dish out another gasket-mounted metal rectangle design, but it's from products like these that the hobby as a whole moves forward, and I have to give AngryMiao some kudos for being brave enough to go against the meta. When the Cyberboard first came out in mid-2020, screens on keyboards weren't a thing, but since then we've seen several companies integrate LCDs and even OLEDs into their board designs. While I'm not expecting the touch bar to catch on in quite the same way, it's exciting to see companies thinking outside of the box, or in this case, outside the rectangle, to see what new designs can be integrated to improve the overall experience. I'm really happy with the overall build quality and the utility of the board, so I'd recommend picking one up if the form factor and the aesthetics appeal to you. Even without the touch bar, the mounting system alone would make the board worth it to me, so the touch bar is honestly a really cool added bonus, at least in my humble opinion. The board does go live, like I said, on Indiegogo on February 2nd at 8:00 a.m. PST, so if you're planning on picking one up, I'd set your alarm to save some money with that sweet early bird discount. Check out some more keyboard content here. I'm MakerMods, and I'll catch you in the next video.